good, YouTube? Today, I'm gonna do a book review on this book called Yumi and the Midnight Painter. I just did a vlog like a couple days, like last week. I was reading this in my vlog. It was really good. But today, I finished the book last night at like 1 a.m. So thinking I might as well do a book review on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the covers right here. It's two different covers. I'm going to read the synopsis too because I was gonna talk about the synopsis, but it's just too much going on, to be honest. So basically, it's a fantasy romance. It's a very slow burner romance. It's not just like they're not just falling in love and everything like that. About two people from very different worlds. You got the first person named Yumi. It's this girl. She's a spirit summoner in her world. Her world is like very sunshines and like mystical plants and all that. And she is just worshipped in her little country or something, and she can summon spirits. She's worshipped because the spirits love her. Everything, she wears a kimono. It's like a Asian civilization type thing. Then you have this guy named Nikaro, aka Painter. He lives in a very dark city surrounded by big black shrouds surrounding it. Nightmares come out trying to devour people in their dreams. He's a nightmare painter, hence the title, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. He's a nightmare painter, so he's like one of the people that like saves people by painting the nightmares into little like dogs or something, to make the nightmares disappear. And they start mysteriously swapping bodies, whenever they sleep. And now they're trying to figure out how to save their lands and such. All right, that was a good synopsis. Starting with my rating, I'm gonna give this book an 8 out of 10. Obviously, I'm in no position to determine what is a good book and what is not a good book, but I'm also entitled to my opinion. So I'm gonna give a good solid 8 out of 10. Okay, and I'm gonna start off with things that I liked about the book. Then I'm gonna go into things I didn't like. Then I'm gonna go into any mixed feelings I had, and then I'm gonna go into some things that I like, that some things that I really messed with, that some themes. So starting with things that I liked. All right, so I love the world building in this book. The way they showed Painter's world, like it really like the words that the author used really made me feel like I was just, in that world full of darkness. But the way that the author described Yumi's world with the oh my, with the sun, with the heat rising from the ground, the red bright sun, the plants that are floating and everything, the wagon that's floating, I don't know, that was just fire. The author did a really great job with that. Like golly. So the scenery 10 out of 10, the world building 10 out of 10. And then when they start switching, oh, it just got so cool. Another thing I like that the characters, the two main characters, Yumi and Nakaro, they're relatable in their own way. Nakaro, I think he relates more to like young men that are like, driven but have like failed miserably and now have just kind of given up on some things. He's a really talented painter, and well, he was past tense. Well, he still is. Very talented painter, but he didn't get into his dream position, so now he's low key living very bummy, which is very relatable to some people. And then you have Yumi. She's actually the exact opposite, but you can still relate to her because she does not have control of her life at all. It seems like she does since everyone worships her, but in reality, she has no control over what she does, and she really just says yes to anything. Even though like people, are servants to her, like they kind of push her to make certain decisions because they feel it would be right for her. So at the end of the day, she has no decisions for herself. All right. Another thing I liked about this book was that it was a slow burner romance. I like romances. I like romances of all kind, but I really liked this one because it did not shove it in your face at all. Like Yumi and Painter, like they're taking a bath with each other at a cold spring like every single day, and like they were just chilling and respectful about it. It wasn't a romance where like they're just kissing up on each other. Like it was really just they really just got to know each other the entire time, and they just had that respect for each other, and that's what I really like about this book. I love the relationship between the main characters in general. I think they just complement each other like very well. They're total opposites, but at the same time, they find ways to like to understand each other, and it really makes you like think that like they may be like really like in common, even though they aren't at all. But like the way they try to understand each other really makes you feel like that. And it was satisfying seeing like their daily interactions. I read it in the epilogue that the author tried to make like a romance where like the man and the girl was like by each other all the time, like 24/7. Instead of normal romances where like they're split off for like most of the time and they come back together. And I thought about it, I was like, wow, like that's a really good idea. I mean, that's more realistic than like some fantasy where the girl gets trapped or something like that. Um, on to things that I just did not like. Honestly, I don't even like to throw shade at the book, but I just gotta complain. Okay, the narrator at the beginning was just corny. I'm sorry. So basically, this book is in some Cosmere. It's a Cosmere novel. So basically, some Cosmere verse going on. They're on some planet. There's other planets. The narrator at the beginning of the book, right? I don't know who the narrator is. I'm thinking the narrator is a human being from my Earth because of the way he's talking, and he's making references to planet Earth, aka our planet, and it's just throwing me off. I'm like, yo, like I'm trying to like get into this world. You keep relating it back to like Earth. I'm like, yo, like it made it a little bit hard to connect with the book because the narrator talks like a goddamn human being. Like I would rather the narrator be like a wandering spirit in the world, not like a guy that sounds like he's from planet Earth. Now later throughout the book, we found out that the guy is literally a statue. I don't look. This is one of the books in some like sphere verse or something, and I heard it was like a sequel or something. But at the same time, like you didn't have to read the book before to understand this one at all. But it sounds like they just keep throwing references to whatever's going on. I don't know why the narrator's a statue. I don't know who Design is. This random girl at a bar. I don't know if she's a robot or an alien. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Okay, maybe that's just on me because I didn't read the other books. I might have to read the other books and it might make more sense. But for a person wanting to read that book for that book, why would you do that to us, right? Like this narrator, he was so corny at the beginning. It was bad. It got better near the end, but honestly, I just got used to it. Okay, I would much rather prefer like them narrate themselves, like through a diary or something. Just anything better. All right, another thing I didn't like, pushing deeper into the plot of the book, when Painter's lie is revealed, I feel like his lie was just overdoing it. Okay, I'm all for like realistic, negative aspects of a character, but you mean to tell me this man Nakaro, he didn't make it into the Dream Watch, right? He's a very excellent painter. He has the skills to make it. He didn't make it. All his friends was counting on him. He was like, yo, like all his friends, they're gonna be part of his squad. They're gonna like, oh yeah, we're up now, we're good. He doesn't make it. He thinks he can still make it. So then he starts lying to his friends. Like all that, like that's okay. We're like realistic so far, right? A big thing. You had to lie for a little bit. He lies for a year, and every day he goes sits in a library. Are we serious? Like, see, like, there's definitely levels to it, cause you can lie for a bit, and then whatever you just kind of leave it for a little bit, like yada yada. He was actively saying, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to practice. I'm gonna practice with the Dream Watch people. But he's sitting in a library staring at the wall. And in the book, his friends are frustrated, right? And that's why they don't mess with him no more. Which that's another thing in itself. But like that was their reasoning. They don't mess with him no more. Yumi didn't understand that. They explained that to Yumi, and she's like, at first she's like, oh dang, but then she's like, oh it's okay. Look, I'm all for forgiveness and everything, but what was that? Like they should. I don't know. That was pretty far fetched. Like it just seemed so out of character for him. Which I know, like character development, all that. Like you know, he wouldn't do it ever again. He was sorry, But golly, he was sitting in a library every day for like a year or something and just staring at a wall the whole time. He lying to his friends. Yo, his friends think they're about to make it in life. Whole time he's just lying. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. I lost some respect for the main character that I just never got back from that. Sorry. All right. Another thing I didn't like was the nightmare plot twist. That all happened really fast, by the way. Nightmare plot twist with Leon. I'm gonna just call it Leon. Leon, aka the servant of Yukihijo Yumi. She's seen as kind of like a bad guy because she's like, well, she seems like kind of evil at the beginning because she's like forcing Yumi to do all these things, but then you start to feel bad for her because okay, like she was raised like that too, yada yada. Whole time she's the dang stable nightmare from the very beginning of the book. What? Like, I know the people transforming into nightmares. Like, okay, I understood that, I guess. And like I like how we want to make a connection between the worlds, but why are we gonna make her the stable nightmare? I don't know. Like it kind of made sense. I was reading it, but then I was just like, why? Okay, but that aside, Painter confronted the like whenever Yumi went like mind wiped. Painter went back into his own world, and then he ran into Leon, stable nightmare. He got her to chill and handed her like a painting or something of like them holding hands or something. How did she bring it back into her own world? Like, what is the timing of that happen? When does she turn into a nightmare? When does this not happen? Is it when she sleep for like the 8 hours? Maybe. I don't know, but like it's just kind of weird. How is she holding a piece of paper? I get we're on different worlds. Are we on different worlds? We're in the same map. I don't know, bro. I don't know, actually. Um, okay. That leads into the main plot twist of the century. Yumi and all the rest of the 13, 14 Yukihijos have been living the same day for thousands of years? What? The only reason that spirit escaped, which started the entire story, was because Yumi got so good at stacking rocks that she somehow pulled a spirit out of the machine. Cool. 3,000 years though? These no, was it 3,000? I don't care. You lost me at 1,000 years. Like we could have said 200 years. I would have made more sense of that. Thousands is crazy, crazy, and that made like that took all like the human aspect out of Yumi herself. Yumi's like she's a nice girl. She's a very hardworking girl. Was she living the same day for 1,000 freaking years? Did I misread that? I'm sorry. I don't even know. Like that's insane. And the other Yukihijos, they're just, yo, what? I'm all for a plot twist, but like, that's a bit too long. Like, how old is that girl then? Like, god dang. All right, that was the things I didn't like about it. On to the things I have mixed feelings about, which is actually just only one thing. Okay, which is the very, very ending. When the day is saved, all those stable nightmares, they're all stopped. Yumi finally stops the machine by realizing that she can do whatever she wants to because she's her, I guess. Cool, it took 1,000 years to do it, but that's fine. Okay, after everything happens, machine dies, yada yada. Everything has to fade away, including Leon, those two servants, all the people that turn into nightmares, all the spirits. They all just fade away because they had to, right? Including Yumi. So it's like, oh, so sad. Even the narrator himself, he's like, like you always gotta have a sad story. And then I'm just kind of accepting. I'm like, okay, like, sigh. This was a great book. Fortunately, it just had to have that ending, right? And then he even ended the book, and then he put the epilogue. He said, never mind. Yeah, Yumi actually decided to stay alive. She just said, "I'm gonna stay alive." And, at first, like at the very very ending, she like slash TP. She teleported to Painter's world. And, somehow they're like telepathic speaking. I don't really know how that worked, but she slash TP'd into Painter's world, and then she was like barely disappearing. I thought they were gonna get like one more hug and maybe one kiss at the very end. Then she's like, nah, no, she's like, nah, I can't do this. Painter's like, nah, you can make that choice. Make the choice to stay alive. I'm all for that. I'm all for her freedom. She can have the choice to do whatever she wants to, right? But when the narrator already ended the book and he's like, oh yeah, this is how staff stories end. It's not about the story. I mean, it's not about the ending. It's about the experiences. Yada yada yada. Why did we just bring her back in the very last freaking page? Why? Why didn't we just do that from the get go? You ain't have to just like do like a you ain't have to take it away from us, then give it back to us. Like that's childish. I'm not gonna lie. That's like I don't know, bro. Like maybe it's just me. Like I just don't like how they did that. They should have just picked one. Look, like, I would have been heartbroken if I just knew that that she died or whatever. But like that's reality. In fact, that's what the narrator was saying. He was like, like reality is often harsh. Look yourself. And then he said all that just to bend reality, in the audience favor. It's like, yeah, I don't really know. But I have mixed feelings though, because I'm all for her freedom. Is she a god now? Like that's the question I'm asking. Like she's the leader of the spirits. What happened to the other Yokihijos? Did they just die? Like what happened to that girl that we saw through the shroud that was reaching her arm out? I don't know. I don't. Anyways, all right, done with the likes and dislikes, pros and cons, mixed feelings. Done with all that. I'm gonna go into the themes that I heavily messed with because I just wanna, I like themes when reading a book, even if it's not thrown in your face. I just like to see themes. First theme, pretty obvious: technological advancement. The big machine. I don't know when this book was made, but big machine obviously took everyone's souls because the scholars from the very beginning they got too greedy. They were just playing with life. Basically you can compare this to now. AI. AI is gonna. AI. Like I think I saw a thing on the news saying like AI. They lost control of the AI. He started seeing death threats or something, trying to hack something. And then I saw a thing. It was like the developers weren't even mad. Like they sounded excited about it. What? So yeah, I mean looks like definitely something that could happen, and it's a good theme because obviously we don't want our world to be a shroud surrounded dark city. But I mean, yeah. Another theme I mess with is art. The stacking stones, that was beautiful. The meditation. I just like Yumi's just her rituals. I heavily respect that, and I respect Painter too. The way he paints, the way he used to be passionate about it and everything. He lost his passion, but he was goaded in his own way. So I just like the overall art, and I liked when Painter was learning how to stack stones, and he related it back to his own art, and Yumi and Painter like got to appreciate each other's methods for creating art or meditations of the such. I really like that. The theme of making your own decisions, obviously referring to Yumi and her captivity of being a Yoki. Yeah, so this is a great theme because I feel like it's a universal experience in some way of like, being in a set structure where you have to do something that's just not your own decision. And you feel like it's your duty to do something for other people. When in reality, it's just not. You can be yourself, you can do whatever you want to. You're your own self. I feel like that's a good theme that the book shared. Last theme I thought that was good because I really one of the best things about this book was Painter's character, Nikara's character. And even though he did a horrific lie, okay, it did aid in his character development for sure because he wasn't able to forgive himself for what he did. He stopped painting. He started painting cactuses. My sorry, bamboos. He started painting bamboos because he was so sad. He left ramen on the floor. You know, his room was a mess. And this is just a relatable experience for sure. I already discussed this, but it's a relatable experience. This shows how you gotta forgive yourself in these situations so you can truly move forward. And I'm glad Painter was able to see that gradually throughout the story, and he was able to become like a hero for the city. And yeah, that's all the themes that I have. That's all the talking points that I have. Basically, that's just the book review. I just want to end it off by saying this was a good book, honestly. And I'm looking forward to making more book reviews. This is honestly my first fiction book in like a stupid long time, right? But I'm gonna get some more books. I'm gonna give this book a good solid 8 out of 10. I haven't read that many other fiction books currently yet, so that might change depending on if I read some like way better, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of trash. Looking back at it, I don't know, but this is my current opinion of the book. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for any new uploads that I upload, and yeah.